Here we are on a Saturday morning in Toronto. Beautiful Saturday morning. Great biking weather, and we're here at the campus of the University of Toronto. It's Bill King, Jesse King. Rob Salem.
I'm glad you brought this
tragic,
up.
Tragic, Jesse.
What do you start? What do you want to say?
No, I can't figure out which wound it is. I don't know if it's from the horseshoe or did he fall on ice or whatever it was. It's probably ice skating.
I emailed him back and I said, well, you've obviously done a proper festive job last week if you're still in. But he came back and he told me, he said, if I'm really honest with you, I just didn't want to tell this. I'm mourning Chuck Norris.
He is mourning Chuck Norris.
Even though he was a misogynist. everything.
I saw that.
But I was going through the memes that were out on social media.
Oh,
They're so good. They're so good.
Well, him and Bruce Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Those slap bouts they had.
But Chuck Norris has always been memed, like for at least 30 decades. 3 decades, I mean.
I know. He kind of sided with the crazies, didn't he?
But he's Chuck Norris, He fought death and won.
He was constantly,
except for this time.
He was constantly punching it out. What a great morning. And cycling in, that was quite an improvement.
A joy. It wasn't freezing and there's no ice or snow.
Our guest today, Jesse, Gil Penalosa. Gil.
Welcome.
Welcome in.
Thank you.
You came in on your cycle too. I mean, you impressed me as soon as you walked in. You had your gear on, you did it, and you said you've been cycling for years and years and years.
Many decades. I have bike all my life, and here in Toronto, I bike all year round, 52 weeks.
That's the way to do it.
Throughout his career, Gil Penalosa has been a strong advocate for improving city parks, making his first mark in Bogotá, Colombia, where he led the design and construction of over 200 parks. And part of this region here, he's a founder and chair of the successful Canadian nonprofit 880 Cities. In addition, Gil is the founder of Cities for Everyone. And you are the right person to have here today.
And you ran for Toronto mayor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And came in you had 100,000 people on board within like a day or something like
100
that.
100 days he did.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people gravitated towards you because you do have a vision for what a city can be coming from the experience in Bogotá. I mean, the one park at something Boulevard, 113 hectare park. That's no small feat.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm surprised, you just mentioned the word vision. We lack vision. I think that if you go to any of the 20 municipalities in the GTHA, or to the provincial government, and you ask them, okay, what is your vision of your city in 2050 or 2070, 30, 50 years from now? No idea, no clue. People are just focused on the short term. And I think that we need leaders that have one foot on today, but the other foot on 30 years from now. And so that we have more of a clear vision of where is it that we want to go.
It feels to me like currently the mayor that's Mayor Chow is just treading water. It's just like, okay, I don't want to offend the premier. We have a budget to work with, and it's always about raising money, the fear of losing money. And then at the same time, keeping her constituents happy, keeping those who support her happy. And I don't really see anybody that can take her on at the same time. So it's like this void of nobody with no vision, but who are fine with just keeping things the way they are, as long as we can pay some bills and stuff, but no long-term look at the city or what we can be.
Yeah, it's incredible because when you think of Tory was almost exactly as Rob Ford in policies, except that one was a bully and the other one was a gentleman. But other than that, there was no difference. And then Olivia Chow comes, and she's just like Tory. Almost every policy that Olivia Chow has brought in, like people call her the cycling mayor. Well, her budget for the 3-year budget is exactly the same as Tory. Tory was a totally anti-cyclist, and he had a budget of $30 million per year, where the Olivia Chow's budget for cycling is exactly the same. And it has nothing to do with Ford taking out the bike lanes, because she did this budget before Ford came on board. So even on this, and there's a lot of things that I find that when she was running for mayor, she committed to fight Ontario Place, to fight the elevated gardener and a few things. And then she becomes mayor, and she did nothing. And then things like Ontario Place. And then they said, but the province we are a creature of the province. These are not legal issues. she could have made them political issues, make
You're
a
right.
huge thing around the political issue. And the legal, it gets solved afterwards. But so I'm really, I don't really know why. Like you ask Olivia Chow, what is the city that you want 30 years from now? She's, a caring city. We want to take care of each other. Yeah, of course. But
That's not a vision.
That's not a vision.
No.
So I
agree
think
with
we
you.
like that.
I agree.
Well, especially in a city that is growing so fast. I mean, the extended GTHA, we have about 5 million people. In 30 years, we're going to have 7.5 million people. So we're growing very, very fast. We should have a vision of where these 2.5 million people are going to live. Where are they going to go to school? What are they going to do on the weekends? How are they going to move? Because if we have no idea, then without a vision, even if we have a lot of action, we're doing here, but without a vision, it's like when you are going to do a puzzle. You're doing a puzzle, the vision is the image of the puzzle. So then it doesn't matter which pieces of the puzzle you are doing as long as are pieces of the same puzzle. But when you don't have a vision, it's like if you are doing pieces of multiple puzzles and you are doing about Frankenstein. So then those don't fit into each other, and we don't know how we'll move, and we don't know how we'll study, and we don't know the parks and the trees and things. And
When I look at I don't think there's anybody in the world like Trump, and that he's impossible. I mean, he's in a position that he does what he wants to do. But yet there are people who know how to push back. And I give Gavin Newsom, he pushes back really great. Robert Garcia leading the probe against for the survivors, the Epstein survivors. These have been the strong voices, and they're there every day. A city like this needs voices like that. You know, when you're dealing with this out of control truck that just keeps running all over the city, then you need people who stand up every day and speak up for the city.
especially
It's
because
our money.
It's exactly the same money. Like people say, oh, but what should Toronto do? Well, more than a third of the funds that Ontario has are from Torontonians. So we need our mayor to speak up on behalf of Torontonians. Also because I don't care if Ford does some bad things short-term, some programs, but some things are 100-year issues.
Yeah.
He is destroying the waterfront, completely destroying. I think that the spa, that obviously everybody knows is not a spa, it's going to be a casino. This is the size of BMO Field. It's gigantic. Yeah. And these people doing the spa, they don't have a spa like that around the world, not even 1/4 that size. So they're going to go broke. Whenever they go broke in 2 or 3 years, then the casinos are going to come and save Toronto, because they're going to say, okay, who wants to take over this white elephant? Well, a casino. So he's going to end up with a waterfront casino. But that is horrible. As a spa, as a casino, that should have been a public park. Then the Gardiner. No civilized city is doing elevated highways around the world. No one. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, the Gardiner is falling apart. And to fix it, it was $500 million. Or to tear it down and do a boulevard with bike lanes and sidewalks and trees and $500 million. But then Tory goes out with some of the suburban councillors and comes back and says, why don't we do a hybrid? It's going to cost only $1.8 billion instead of 500. Yeah. 1.8. And then he won it by 2 votes. And then Olivia comes on board, and instead of fighting it, she gives it to Ford to do the elevated highway. If it had been a boulevard, it would have opened up land to do 8,000 homes. Plus, we would have linked the city to the waterfront. And now comes the airport. Obviously, that airport was nice when there was no connection with Pearson. Then we built $1 billion doing a train to Pearson. And now he wants to, instead of doing what should be done to get rid of the island airport, I think that 80% of the island airport should be a park, 20% could be housing. Mm-hmm. Instead of doing that, he wants to expand the airport. Also, this is horrible. I mean, what is the civilized city that is doing island airports or that is doing downtown airports? None. They are taking them out. Berlin had an airport right in the middle of the city. They took it out. Chicago had an airport, an island airport next to the downtown. They got rid of it. So no one is doing this. instead, they are doing parks. They are greening the cities. Also, like if you are downtown and you're going to go to the airport, it takes you 15 minutes into the island airport. If you are going to Pearson on the train, it takes you 25 minutes. So the only difference is 10 minutes more to one place or 10 minutes less. And instead, this could be Canada's best urban park, the whole island, including the airport.
Well, it's generated by economics for these guys. I mean, there's a lot, with Ford, I think we all know there's a lot of kickbacks and things going on. But what you brought up earlier about the vision of the city and moving people specifically, when you look and say, okay, if we're going to go up to 7.5 million people in the next 30 years, our TTC is a disaster at best. It can't, it's so antiquated, and they're just barely keeping it going. But then you've still got a lot more cars on the road. You've got more bike lanes, but this is the key. Since they put in the bike lanes, more people are cycling, because we do know people are like, I'm afraid to bike in the city. When you have these in there, if you travel around the world, if you go to the UK, you go to Amsterdam, you go to these different cities, they have these infrastructures in, and there are dedicated pathways for people and cyclists and different things. And I think for us, the more opportunity to have these, the more people are going to come out and utilize them, as we've seen, especially during COVID. So and that's a big question. How do you move people around?
Well, look, I have worked in over 350 cities all over the world, small ones, big ones. And the reality is that cycling is very complicated, because to have people cycling, you need connectivity. Without connectivity, very few people bike. I think that Toronto, we do not have connectivity. I think that, okay, Bloor is nice, but all of a sudden, okay, so how do you get from Bloor to the downtown? We don't have any north-south. If the city builds 3 or 4, Toronto is very small. Toronto is only 20 by 40 kilometers. So if we had maybe 3 going east-west and 6 going north-south, we would be totally connected. And then, because then some people that are afraid of cycling, then they said, okay, now you do Bloor, okay, maybe 40%, 50, 60% of my ride is safe, but still 30, 40% is not. So they are not going to bike. As soon as we do the connectivity, then I think the cycling in Toronto will multiply. For example, I think that instead of having done the bike lane in Etobicoke, where it's low density, I think eventually we should do it. But I think we should have used those funds to do connectivity from Bloor to Lakefront. And then some north-south, because I think that will transform cycling in Toronto once we create some north-south connections.
I was thinking also, 2 things I think they got right over the last few years is the harbor lanes, the harbor cycling. I think those are really, really fine. The way they've got plants, they've got everything in place, and plus you feel secure going down harbor, crossed of it. The other one is College. I really enjoy the College street lanes that go across cycling lanes. I think.
No, I totally agree. I think we gotta give the city credit.
But you're right. We've got
that
the
they are
east-west going.
doing. Now they know how to do it.
Yes,
like
that's right.
Maybe 15 years ago they were just painting lanes, and paint is no infrastructure. No, now we have seen some beautiful. So I really appreciate the city staff. They know how to do it. Yeah. Okay, now all we really need is connectivity, because now we know how to do the intersections, the corners, the physical separation, all of this. And again, we need, cycling, the bike lanes are like the chains. They are as safe as the least one. You go on Bloor, and then Bloor between Spadina and Bathurst, on the north side, there is nothing. Mm-hmm. So then it's as safe as the weakest link, and that is the weakest link of Ladwa. So there's a few things we need to do. For example, in many places of the city, we have car parks, and then the bike lane, and then moving cars. That is the most dangerous place, because you are biking and you don't know if they're going to open the door or if the moving car is going to hit you. I said, now that Ford is complaining about the bike lane, well, let's use the budget to move the parked cars to the center and the bike lane next to the sidewalk, so that the parked cars are going to protect the cyclists and not the cyclists protecting the parked cars. These are really, really simple things that we could easily be doing. We could easily be making it. I think we need bike lanes. I said AAA. What is AAA? All ages and abilities. Yeah, maybe all of us that have been biking for many, many years, we can go and we pay a lot of attention to this. But just moving the cars to the left, you eliminate more than 80% of possibilities of getting door, because the cars have only one passenger. So when they open the door, you are not going to be there. So if you are on the right side of the car, if you are in between the parked car and the sidewalk, then you are not going to get door. Also, you feel a lot safer when you are next to the people walking. So things like that are small things that would make a huge difference.
Gil, if you were mayor and you're faced with a budget which has many constraints to it, what would be the top of your agenda?
Well, first, we have a gigantic budget. This is
Okay.
blah, blah, blah. When people say that we don't have money, we have tons of money. I think the city has like vision, but also management. For example, we talk about all of the garbage bins, how bad they are. Well, why haven't we ended up with that contract? It's because the public-private partner. It has nothing to do with public-private. It's because it has been poorly managed. This is a contract that has been going on for 19 years, and the garbage bins have not worked. The same people that have the garbage bins are doing the bus stops. Well, the bus stops are really well maintained. Why? Because that's where those people are making their money, putting advertisement on the bus stops. So we should say, look, if you want to keep the contract, you got to have the garbage. But we have not managed them. So those are so we are lacking management. But things, I think we should have a city that is equitable, sustainable, and playful. What I mean by equitable? For example, we need to lower the speed in the neighborhoods. All of the neighborhood streets should be 30 an hour, max, with lots of humps. And then people tell me, how are you going to do it? Well, all of the upper income neighborhoods in Toronto are like that. You go to Rosedale, you go to Roncy. All of the upper income neighborhoods have 30 speed in all of the streets, and they have 2 or 3 humps in every block. Why don't we do that citywide? Is it that we want to be safe only the upper income? Why is it that we go to the lower income and we don't have that? So equity is a big issue. We have, for example, tree canopy. In climate change and hot summers, we need trees. Well, citywide, we have 28% tree canopy. But in the wealthy neighborhoods, we got 50% tree canopy. In the low-income neighborhoods, less than 10, in many less than 5%. Why is it that the city doesn't say, okay, for the next 10 years, not forever, in the next 10 years, let's not plant that tree in any neighborhood that has more than 10% tree canopy. Let's focus on the ones with less than 10% for 10 years to see if we try to gain some equity. So I think that those are the kind of playful. We need a city that is playful. I think that a city should be evaluated by how good are the things that are free. The parks, the sidewalks, the festivals, the activities. We could be so much more fun. And this is not only about infrastructure, it's also about programs. For example, originally I'm from Bogotá, Colombia. And in Bogotá, I took a very small program that was dying of open streets. That they had 10 kilometers and it was going to die. And I increased it from 10 kilometers to 121 kilometers. So in Bogotá, a city of 8 million people, 121 kilometers every Sunday and holiday of the year, we have a network of streets interconnecting the wealthiest and the poorest neighborhoods where people walk, run, buy, skate, shop, socialize, and it's magnificent. It's good for mental health, for physical health, for social health. I think that in Toronto, I have proposed this to Tory and then to Mayor Shaw. When Mayor Shaw came asking for my support, this was the only project that I spoke to her about. I said, this could transform Toronto. If we call it summer streets, let's do every Sunday, June, July, and August. Some people go to the cottage, but the people in Toronto would have even more fun.
Now, is there street or streets that you had in mind in the city that you feel would work best for that?
Yes, I proposed a specific map on Bloor from Humber River to the Don Valley, and Young from the 401 to the lake. Then along the Humber and along the Don Valley, we have the trails. So we would connect from north-south along the trails on the Humber and the Don Valley. And in the south, we have the waterfront trail. So it would be amazing. People would wake up every morning saying, okay, where am I going to have brunch today? Oh, I'm going to go to Little Italy, or I'm going to go to Hyde Park, or I'm going to go to the beaches. The city would be interconnected. Because one of the things that happens in Toronto is that we have a lot of, we're very diverse. but we are not very integrated. So then the people from India stay Saturday with India, and the Jamaicans with Jamaicans, and the others. This way, we will really get everybody connected. Imagine all of a sudden in Canada, everybody would say, oh my God, look what Toronto's doing. They would be expecting something like this out of Montreal or out of Vancouver. But now they would say, oh, Toronto is also fun. Why is it that fun is so important? Because it's also about economic development. I think that more and more the cities are competing for people, how to retain and how to attract good people. Because today, anybody that is good at anything, if you are a good nurse or teacher or a musician, you can live anywhere. Not anywhere in Toronto, anywhere in the world. So why would they live in Toronto? Only if it's a fun and playful city. Mm-hmm. So a city that is fun is very, very, very important. So when the people say, oh, it's fun and games, no, fun and games in itself is very, very important. But it's also a fantastic tool of economic development.
When we started the Beaches Jazz Festival in 1988 and 89, and we began at Kew Gardens because people just didn't really, outside of which was Caravana at the time, using Olympic Island and some of the places like this. And there was even music festivals tried in Hyde Park, but the residents voted them out immediately in the 70s because they didn't want long hairs out there. And when we started in Kew Gardens, it was really the beginning of that whole thing of where you could have music in the park and community connected, because you could go from Queen Street right into the park, and then you could go straight to the lake. So this was this great social apparatus that stayed for 25 years, and it became enormously popular. And we also found that the beaches became the blueprint for many, many free community festivals. When the city decided they were going to move us to the newly in-mind Woodbine Park, they never talked to us, and they never consulted us about design of the what would be their amphitheater or band shell there. And we kept going, okay, we don't want to go there. And we fought them for years. We didn't want to go there because we knew we just knew they were going to really mess this up. And when you look at Woodbine, they messed it up royally. That band shell is the worst in the city. It's not a band shell. It's what it is, this giant slab of concrete with like a pagoda or something that's like 50 feet high, has nothing to do with covering the bands, nothing to do with anything. And then you look at the park, and we kept telling them at the time, we said, you got to plant some trees. You got to do something. If you're going to plant them around the edges, do some stuff so that when people come into the park, it's that they feel like they want to be in that park.
Some benches,
you don't want to go,
some trees.
You don't want to go sit in the middle of Woodbine Park. That's one of the poorest designed parks I've ever seen.
Completely agree. And things like the musical area, the stage.
It's terrible.
I built two in Bogotá.
Yeah.
And one of the things I did, I went and saw some around the world. And then I saw, like in Chicago, I saw one. And then I said, well, why is it that you have hard surface next to the stage?
Yeah.
And I saw the same in other. And they explained to me, they said, look, because here you can have about 20, 30,000 people. But that happens only maybe once a month or maybe twice. But 500 people is all the time. The schools are coming, whatever. So they only need this part in front, right in front of the stage. So even in Millennium Park in Chicago, they have the same thing, and they have it in New York in another place. So then, why is it hard surface? Because when people come every day, otherwise it's going to become all muddy, and there will never be grass. It's all mud, and if it rains. So near the stage, let's do things up to 1,000 people. People can do dances. People can do music. People can do aerobics. People can do... And then the other 19,000 can be on grass behind it. But yeah, we got to see in other places what has worked and what has not. Mm-hmm. So learning from each other... And I think all of those things are so doable. And you mentioned that the residents of Hyde Park didn't want to have the long hair. I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have, is that the city is giving too much power to the loudmouth people. I call them the cave people.
That's who they are.
The citizens against virtually everything.
Yeah.
They are just against everything. And why do they exist? Because the councilors give them the power. I've been to public meetings. Our public consultation is totally broken. Yeah. We do it in the wrong time, in the wrong place, in the wrong format. And we've been so much power. I've been to public consultations where there's more staff and consultants than citizens. And then they go back to the city council and they say, did you go to the community? Yes, checked. No, you didn't go to the community. There were 3 people in the public meeting. That's not going to the community. So we cannot give decisions to 3 loudmouths. We need to do whatever is good. And for example, the Hyde Park. It's a park that could be amazing, could be
truly,
so fantastic.
truly.
For example, it has a nice grenadier pond. Why don't we put some kayaks and canoes or maybe sailboats in the summertime? It would be so, the city doesn't even have to do it. They can outsource it, have a tender, have some people there. Programs. I think, for example, we should have like dancing with strangers all over the city. One of the things that too many times in the cities, it seems easier to find $1 million to do a park than a few thousands to make it work. We need programs. Let me give you an example. I think that the most forgotten segment of the population is us, the older people. In Toronto, people over 60. 1 out of 4 people is over 60. 25% of the people are over 60. But recreation programs is only 3%. So I went to Mayor Chow about a year and a half ago, and I said, Mayor Chow, this doesn't make sense. So she called parks, and they said, oh, yeah, it's because adults don't register. I said, Mayor, I'm not talking about adults. I'm talking about older adults. Yeah, if you are in your 40s, you don't register because you don't have time. You sleep 8 hours, you commute 2 hours, you work 8 hours. You don't have time. But once you retire, you have that 1 or 2 hours, plus the 2 hours of commute, plus the 8 hours of work. There is no segment of the population that has more leisure time than olders. So there should be many, many more programs. So I gave her an idea. I said, now that you also mentioned the budget, I gave her an idea. I said, look, we got 25 wards. Why don't you create some grants for programs? 100 grants in each ward. So it's 2,500 grants. Give him $2,000. There's a lot of older people that they want to teach how to dance or do Tai Chi or go bird watching or have walking groups, but they need a little bit of seed money to buy the music equipment or to buy the headsets to go bird watching and talk to people, whatever. And then I said, you would have 2,500. Really, really simple. Group activity, because our number one problem of public health today is loneliness. So number 1 has to be group. Number 2, preferably outdoors. And number 3, preferably people over 60. Anybody could join, but preferably people. I said, it would be amazing. Imagine 2,500 groups doing. And then she said, oh, it's too much money. I said, it's only $5 million. That $5 million is nothing. And she said, oh, people are going to do bad use. So I said, okay, imagine that 10% do bad use, but 90% could do good use. And then she said, oh, no, my priority is children. I said, Mayor, you don't need to choose. This is not children or elders. But imagine having 2,500 grants of all kinds of activity, dancing with strangers.
Absolutely.
It would be transformative. And by the way, $5 million is nothing. The
What
budget
is the budget?
The budget 18,000 millions. It's $18 billion.
Right,
$18 billion is 18,000 millions.
Yes.
18,000. This program is only $5 million. That's nothing. If she really wanted to do something for others, we have not realized that we are living much, much longer. Everybody talks about longevity. It's not about longevity. We're already living, not us, in the world. This is really amazing. Around the world, in hundreds of thousands of years, up till 1900, the life expectancy was 33.
That's right.
In only 125 years, we have gone from 33 to 78. And in Canada, it's 82. Every country in the world has more than double the life expectancy. The people that haven't lived up to 65, 2 out of 3 are alive today. This is very, very new. So we have already added many, many years to our life, but we have failed to add life to those years. So let's add life. For example, in the city of Toronto, we do this dumb thing with a small budget for Vision Zero. We put these yellow signs on the streets that says Senior Safety Zone.
That's like chickens don't walk across here.
Exactly. A civilized city doesn't put the signs in the few places that are safe for seniors, but in the few that is unsafe, because the city has to be safe for. Second, what is seniors? People in their 50s or 60s or 70s. Third, seniors don't need anything. Seniors can walk and bike really. If you have a disability, it doesn't matter if you are 10 or 30 or 50 or 80 or 100, then you need special things. But those signs are like rubbing it in that seniors are weak
It's crazy.
and are
Get out the
fragile.
walker. The idea that you have of helping facilitate people who want to share their knowledge or get people out has an immense trickle-down effect, too. Because if you have 10, 20 people that want to go out, say, bird watching, well, they're going to have to get there somehow. So maybe they're taking TTC. So now they're spending money. Maybe they have to get their own binoculars. So they're going to give back to the community and start shopping. So that money goes back into the system again rather than sitting in the bank account. So that's kind of short-sighted.
Those Tilly hats, too.
You got to have a Tilly hat, man.
No, and you know the loneliness. Loneliness is the number one
Yes, it is.
health problem. And we need to get people out of their homes, meeting with other people. But people, if you tell them, go walk, they look out the window and say, oh, it might rain or it's too sunny. But if they know that Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays at 10 a.m. or 5 p.m. or whatever, there's a walking group and they are part of the walking group, then they show up. They said, oh, it's because of walk. No, deep down is to socialize. They want to be, and also economic development. This is great for economic development and having activities. For example, this thing of open streets. If we did open streets in Toronto, June, July, and August every Sunday, is great for retail because you're going to put all of these other hundreds of thousands of people walking outside, going in front of some stores that they had never seen. Now there's more than 400 cities around the world that are doing it. I mean, Paris is doing it. So if they don't want to do it because it's Bogotá and they think we're more snobby, okay, go to Paris. Paris does it even during the winter. 52 Sundays of the year, Paris does open streets. I think this could be so amazing. And when the retail complains, then they complain before they do it. Once they start doing it, they are the number one promoters because all of the people that are in retail, they are selling much more than before.
And let's be realistic here. It's been the city that's killed a lot more businesses. When you looked at when they built the streetcar, the streetcar for St. Clair, it was only supposed to take 3 years. That took like 9, times, and it's shut down so many businesses. And that Eglinton has just been an even bigger disaster.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. I want to talk about an idea I had for a park too. Something I think music is a big part of what we do here in Toronto. It's the big draw and everything. But what I want to do is sometimes when you think about music and how it affects you, or when you grew up, and how it has been part of your life and stuff, you have kind of like almost a mythic view of it. And I wrote this piece called Americana, and it's not so much what it is. I call it a tone poem, and it's kind of like my kind of emotional and empathetic view for what I grew up with, the sounds from the banjo, the fiddle, the Telecaster, the blues, bluegrass in my area of the world, and this is called America. I want to play it for you. We put it into spoken word and stuff. So it's my guest today is Gil Penalosa. Great to have you here, Jesse King, Heidi, and everybody. So we're gonna just
that other guy over there.
Yeah, Calvin.
Calvin. What's his name again? Starts with a C.
Calvin's smart, man. So here we go.
It's the soft twang of a Telecaster cutting through the still air of a small town bar, neon lights flickering like fireflies. The essence of a place where music is not just a backdrop, but the lifeblood coursing through the veins of every diner jukebox, every Sunday morning gospel choir, every wind-blown troubadour hitchhiking west on Route 66. Let's weave in some sepia tones where every memory crackles like vinyl grooves. Think of an Appalachian fiddle crying alongside a bluesy harmonica, echoes of a lost Union rally still haunting the hills. It's the kind of Americana where the songs tell stories, Stories of factory towns gone quiet, of love letters penned under the swelter of a southern sky, of resilience in the face of a relentless march forward. This is where the music lives, in the syncopated shuffle of train tracks, the gospel shouts of a tent revival, and the smoky haze of a Delta juke joint at midnight. It's the birthplace of Springsteen's anthems, Cash's confessions, and Guthrie's gruff poetry. A patchwork quilt of stories stitched with melodies older than the Mississippi. Here, the spirit is raw and unpolished, like a barn dance under a harvest moon, where the banjo player's grin is as bright as the stars above. It's all heart, all humanity. Americana is the place you return to when you need to feel something real. When you want to hear not just the music, but the people behind it, working their lives into every note. Feeling it. Let's plug in that acoustic, tune the strings, and let the heartland sing through you. Americana isn't a genre, it's a promise, a handshake, a love letter to everything that ever made you stop and listen. Americana through the lens, a dance of light, shadow, and untamed spirit. The click of the shutter feels like the downbeat of a drum capturing the rhythms of a nation on the move. It's a gaze held still in the chaos of motion, the worn soles of a hitchhiker's boots on a dusty highway, the cracked facade of a gas station frozen in a golden hour glow, the way a neon vacancy sign flickers like Morse code in the night. The photograph isn't just a still, it's a song. Each frame holds a melody, a story wrapped in texture and tone. A black and white shot of a sharecropper's hands, calloused and purposeful, feels like a Delta blues riff bending under the weight of memory. A long exposure of headlights streaming down a backcountry road is a jazz improvisation, fluid, uncharted, free. You find Americana in the reflections on a chrome diner jukebox, where Roy Orbison's croon still lingers like perfume in the air. It's in the ghostly outline of a billboard faded by decades of southern sun, its message long forgotten, but its presence defiant. It's in the way kids splash barefoot in the town's square fountain, while elders sit on benches. Their lives are deep in the lines of their faces, living postcards of history. The frame pulls you into small town carnivals, where the Ferris wheel lights create halos of color spinning like dreams. It lingers on the rusting trucks in overgrown fields, their paint peeling in perfect harmony with the silence around them. The beauty isn't curated, it's accidental, raw. The kind that makes you stop and breathe, makes you feel something primal and unsaid. Through the lens, Americana becomes a hymn. The horizon stretches wide like an unfinished thought, inviting you to chase it. A lone church steeple reaches skyward, framed against thunderclouds, and it feels like the closing note of a gospel song. This is the America you can touch, where the scent of pine mingles with diesel fumes, and every shadow tells a story. You click the shutter and hold time still, not to preserve, but to amplify. Every photo hums with its own tune, a whisper of a world caught in transition.
Hey, we're back. So,
I was on a journey there.
I was on a journey too. And
I was on a
jumped
steamboat.
I was, something though. You can write something like that about cities, and I have been part of this city since 1969, and we have come a long way. And I love this city like madly and passionately. And like Gil has been saying, the things that could be for the future, and things that we could solve if we got together and just got away from this. Secrecy. There's a lot of secrecy, and it's going to get worse under Ford, because he wants to keep all this under the table. But I just wanted to say, when I first went to the beaches and I was looking for a place to do the festival, and I was biking along the waterfront, and they says go, and I ended up in Kew Gardens, and then of course me and Lido connected on that. I always look at parks with the eye where I could have a band shell, or where we could have a community thing that could have a community event. Because a lot of times when you have like these summer events and they're having barbecues and stuff in parks, it's just not in the proper space. It's like looking at that wonderful park, Jimmy Simpson, I think it is. I look at that and I see the possibilities for that community, that where you could put on a nice band shell in the back and have things all summer going on. And I see that. So one of the things that gets me is also Trinity Bell Gardens. It's one of the greatest communion places for young people, especially so it's connected down to Liberty Village. It's a whole new community. I walk down there, and I'm the oldest person in the area, and I think they're going to escort me out every time I bike through there, because everybody's 20-something, 30-something, and they come by the thousands, and they picnic, they come out, they socialize, and it's absolutely fantastic. And then I see that hill. There's the hill there that looks over, and there's like this structure down there, and I go, what's going on there? And I see people sit on that hill and look at nothing. And they sit there, and I said, there should be something to look at, because you could build a band shell down there, and it won't reverberate in the neighborhoods. And it could be a community thing that can be used for a variety of things during the week, from dance, everything else. But it's just gravel and this wooden structure, and it could be so much more. You know this place I'm talking about?
Yeah, I love it. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I spent hours there,
Yeah,
thinking about the same. I said, "Oh my God, this could be so amazing." And actually, if the neighbors complain, who cares? Let's solve the issue. Let's maybe say, okay, it cannot be past 9 p.m. or 10
Right.
p.m. or so the sound this much. I mean, let's look for solutions to problems, but we end up looking for problems to solutions. I mean, I love Toronto. I've been living in Toronto for 26 years. With the kind of work that I do, I could live anywhere, and I chose Toronto because I love it. But I just think that it could be so much better and it's not a technical issue, and it's not a financial issue. It's a political issue, but not about political parties, but and like doing something in Trinity Bellwoods, in that amazing place that now it's only for dogs. The arts, it would be so great that we have, and having such a multicultural citizens here, we could have music from all over the place, and dances and festivals and things, and it would be so fun.
it was interesting because I think it was during COVID, they went through the park and they would circle out.
Yeah.
Your bubble. There was 800 circles.
It was the weirdest thing
And
I
packed.
saw. And it was packed just the same, but I'm always impressed when I go through there, because I really want to see what young people are doing and everything. And they have a life in this city. And as you say, there's a lot of isolation, and a lot of isolation is with young people in their 20s and 30s because of social media. It's difficult, as always, to get into the dating game, to meet people and stuff. But I think that park plays an important thing for people. Canadians had a funny way. I will say this. I remember when I was first here, I was first playing in bands, and I never got the thing about women on one side of the room, the men on the other. There was just the weirdest thing, because being American and stuff, everybody was falling all over each other. I mean, you went to a club, everybody hung out. There wasn't like this weird social thing. And I remember this early on, that when I played like in Delhi and places like that, the women would stand on one side of the room and the guys on the other, and then somehow they try to socialize. And I still think there's a bit of that left from another time, where there's the insecurity of approaching each other, or not knowing how how to meet each other or fall in, and it's always that awkward thing. But I think the park does a great thing of allowing people to just be together and connect. Some people will play tennis, some people will pass and throw a frisbee or something, and and I think that park shows you the possibilities that the kids, the young people decided this is their place. They made that decision on their own. They're going to come. That decision to sit there on that side of the hill and stare at nothing is theirs. And it tells us they want something down there.
Yeah. And one of the things that people need to realize, loneliness is a huge problem, because when people are lonely, and actually I host every bi-weekly webinar, and my guest this coming Tuesday is a woman who wrote a book on proximity and the paradox of proximity, how people are lonely in the middle, surrounded by millions. Loneliness has the U.S. Chief Medical Officer of the last administration said that loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes every day. So physically it's bad. Mm-hmm. It's also, loneliness creates depression and anxiety. So it's bad also for mental health. So the cities really should make this, this is about mental health and social health and physical health. So we should be doing it. Like one of the things that I thought before they were going to do this horrible spa, that should have been a park, a waterfront park, an amazing public. And the proposal that I had done is, why don't we do like a 100-meter bridge over Lakeshore? So all of this neighborhood that doesn't have is very dense, but without parks, would be connected to the waterfront. So we will connect.
Just walk over.
Yeah, and 100-meter is not expensive, because it doesn't have to be very strong, because it's just for people walking or cycling. Maybe 10 meters would be for cars, for emergency cars or whatever. Okay, so then 10 meters you make it strong, by the other 90 meters, and all green. So it would be like an amazing place for all of that very dense area.
You know what they did in my hometown of Jeffersonville, Indiana? They built a walking bridge between Indiana and Kentucky over the Ohio. And my God, you should see there's just packed every day. And people walk the bridge. It's like an event every day in their life. And that connectivity to Louisville was just, you took the 2nd Street Bridge, or you took the Muhammad Ali Bridge into Louisville, but you never had the connectivity that you walked off the bridge into shopping areas and into places where people socialize. And it's really connected to that.
Bridges are amazing because they're magical. Waterfronts are almost like God-given. Waterfronts, you shouldn't be able to privatize waterfronts. That's why doing a spa. That spa is the size of BMO Field, of BMO Stadium. So this is gigantic. That should have been a public one. But for example, things we need to walk. For example, everybody says for mental and physical health, we need to be physically active.
Yes.
The only two ways that we can get large people walking and cycling is if people walk. The large groups of people physically active is if people walk or bike as a normal part of everyday life. Yeah. Because it is agreed by everybody. You need to do 30 minutes a day for 5 days or more per week. So all the medical people say that.
A great example.
But we need to walk or bike as a normal. Yeah. You know that in Toronto, 1 out of 4 streets doesn't have a sidewalk. It's really incredible that 25% of the streets in Toronto don't have sidewalks. And we have black ice, and we have snow, and we have seasons, and we have all of this. And people say, oh no, in this neighborhood, nobody walks. Well, even in the wealthiest neighborhood of Toronto, more than 30% of the people don't drive. Everyone under 16, they don't drive. Many people over 70 don't drive. And also many people in between 16 and 70 also are not driving. So we need sidewalks for the, if we want people to walk. What I consider amazing is that the mayor and all of the councilors, there is no one that has walking or sidewalks in their top 5 priorities. No one. And I think that there is almost nothing as important as walking. I mean, walking, that's how we were created. Yeah, the birds fly, the fish swim, but people walk. People walk. And why do I think sidewalks are so important? Because the sidewalks is where you meet boyfriends and girlfriends, and you meet your neighbors and the people selling coffee and if you want. But also we need places to walk to. So like the city was talking about, why don't we allow people to have corner stores inside the neighborhoods? And then the councilors in the suburbs, they say, oh, we don't want here. And Mayor Chow had the power to do it, but she said no.
And corner stores.
And this is terrible because we not only need the sidewalks, but to have a big walkable, we need places to walk to, so that the children will say, okay, I'm going to walk to get an ice cream. Young people will say, I'm going to walk to have a drink or have a coffee or be with friends or whatever. It's places to walk to. So I mean, we know what needs to be done. Why don't we do it? And like I said, the issue of music, this could be such an amazing city, but it should be promoted everywhere. Imagine the program that I said of the grants. I mean, so many musicians could do things. People here in Toronto, we go to Paris and we see in the parks, dancing with strangers. Very, very popular, dancing with strangers. I said, why don't we do it? Let's try it. What do you need? We need nothing. Let's facilitate. Let's allow people to do it in the parks for free.
This brings me back. I want to point out Trillium Park down at the harborfront or the waterfront.
It's a wonderful park.
Because what they do is, like right now, it's the colder, they got Lumiere Festival. Once it gets warmer, they have events the entire summer. Not only do they have yoga every like Sunday and Saturday in the mornings, they've got the night events. But I bike there almost every day when I'm out there. And there's always people in that park sitting around, walking. It's an active, and it's such a small space. If that was expanded, and when you talk about walking to get there, biking, that's how they're getting
But here's
there.
the issue, Jess. It's the planes, the flyover, the constant. You can't do music events there because it's totally interrupted by the jets.
They do them in the summer.
I know,
Yeah.
but I've
You've
put
been there, yeah.
I put them on, and it's impossible. You
And
can't
then
hear yourself.
if you get the fuel blowing the wrong way,
you get those
you're inhaling that stuff.
If you get
too.
those jets in there, everybody along the waterfront is going to. They're not going to be able to sleep.
Yeah. But the
It's
fact
just
is
gonna be
that just gives you an
nightmare.
example of what is possible and what people want. I mean, it's a very small parkette, but it's maintained. It's got a great flow through it.
It's got a great view.
And there's always something going on. But if you expanded that along the waterfront and other areas in the city, people will go to these things.
I just want to say one thing before moving on, and we really appreciate, for the first time, UHN's General Hospital has been named the #2 hospital in the world. And Newsweek, World's Best Hospital 2026, evaluated more than 2,400 medical institutions in 30 countries to identify the best 250 hospitals in the world. It's pretty incredible. And I will say, because
Spent a lot of time there.
We've been spending a lot of time there. And I can't believe how fantastic it is. And I mean, even when I go there, and I went there for just a checkup, and I got home and I had the results in my message thing. I went, I don't know if I want to open this. I mean, the efficiency in however they planned this out and did it, they did a spectacular job. So congratulations to the hospital system. They're doing just a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know. People complain about the medical system, but
fantastic.
when I have to use it, it's amazing.
It is.
It's amazing. You just show your card and you don't pay 1 cent and you go. I mean, Toronto has so many amazing things. We got great universities, great musicians, but we just need a few things so that things click. And a lot of the things that we need are free. For example, having really nice sidewalks and clean, the issue of the garbage cans, or having sidewalks where we don't have. Also, the winter. We are a winter city. We should have lots and lots and lots of things. I tell many cities, don't spend too much time in the summer. It's too much money in the summer because everybody is using the parks in the summer. Also, the private sector is investing a lot of money in the summer. I said, spend a lot of money in the winter. How do we get people out of their houses to have fun? And it's
Clear the sidewalks.
Are you going to
exactly that has to be what
I'm speaking specifically about that last big dump.
Now, Gil is here because of Maria Kiram at Redwood Theater.
Okay.
And I want to say thanks for that and for lining this up and everything. And we kind of look at the Redwood Theater as a hub of innovation and ingenuity and music and things
Vision.
in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you thinking of running for mayor this again?
No, when Tory had promised he was going to be a 2-term mayor, and then he changed his mind. No one wanted to run with him. I called everybody, Jenkins, Maran, and Chow, and all. Everybody said, "Oh, we don't have time, we don't have money. Torrey is too powerful."
Yeah.
But I said, this is not only about winning or losing; it's about bringing up ideas. No, I think that I wish other people would run because I don't think that Bradford on the right or Olivia Chow. I think there's a huge possibility in the middle. I mean, there's so many things. For example, we're building community centers. Near where I live, the city is doing a community center. Within 1 kilometer, there are 3 schools. What is the community center going to have? The same thing that the schools already have, gymnasiums and this. Why is it that we don't? I mean, imagine that in Toronto, every neighborhood had a community center. Every neighborhood has a school. Why don't we open up the gymnasium, the library, and maybe 1 or 2 classrooms after school, Saturdays and Sundays? And then they say, oh, no, it's because the Board of Education is so difficult. It's like Mandela used to say, they always say it's impossible until it's done. I mean, those are public schools paid with our taxes. Why don't we use those facilities in the evenings, Saturdays, Sundays, for other activities? Those are the kind of things that we should have the mindset to.
We had, years ago, going back like 30 years ago or something, we tried to do a whole thing between the festivals and big events in Toronto. We organized what we were going to call like this kind of body where we can communicate and help each other, help promote each other's events. And my idea was to take all these events and do something in the winter that showcased all these events. Put it together, have maybe 2 weeks of around the city, but with the events that would happen in the summer, but showcase them. Well, the first meeting, everybody showed up. The second meeting, half the people showed up. And the third meeting, I go, why didn't anybody show up? They were all paranoid somebody would steal somebody's sponsor. And so they said, can't do it. And so there's this paranoia of each other robbing from others. Their $50 they're going to get for sponsorship. You know what I mean? So they can't get in and get there because there's always this fear of somebody losing or somebody else siphoning off whatever dollars are going to come their way. So
yeah, but even if we don't do it 52 weeks of the year, okay, why don't we start by extending the summer? So instead of being 16 weeks, let's make it 20. Then let's go to 24. Let's go to 30. And then all of a sudden we're going to realize, wow, all year round there are activities. Yeah. And there are amazing cities with lots of activities. When I've been working in Finland, for example, at minus 30 degrees, I went to a school of 1,100 students. 80% of the students bike to school at minus 30 degrees. 80%. Yeah. And I had lots of photos. Actually, this week I put them on social media with hundreds of bicycles at minus 30 degrees. When you make it safe to bike to school or to walk to schools, the children are going to bike and walk to school.
That's it. Gil Penalosa, our special guest today, founder and chair of 880 Cities for Everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. It's just been spectacular.
No, thank you very much for having invited me. I had a lot of fun because I love this city and I think it's a very good city, but we could be even better. And I think we should not give up. And I think that's the biggest problem that we have. Sometimes I feel that people had honey running through their veins because all of these things are happening and people are not waking up and saying, no, we can do much better.
It's not only give up, it's give in. We just don't give in. Jesse, thanks again.
Hey, and just say, Rob, heal up and rest in peace, Chuck Norris.
Right, and don't take on anybody else this week. Don't have any altercations. Heidi, Calvin, thank you so much. And until next week. Oh, I think James B. is coming in next week and talking about some stuff. And Gloria may be back too. So. All right. Thanks so much.
Baby hit the back door, breathing real heavy. Said the boys in the alley wouldn't leave her alone. Mama did her makeup in a terrible hurry. She finally got ready, but the boys were gone. Mama, don't you worry, night's approaching. There's a hole in heaven where some sin slips through. Close your eyes and dream real steady. Maybe just a little will spill on you. The dark don't lie.